Hi there. I'm Beth Matthew of Beth Matthew Music, and I wanted to come on live today, this last day of May of 2022, and just share some personal reflections that I've had during the month. I hope these will encourage you and help you know that you're not alone, no matter what you're going through. First of all, I had a birthday earlier this month. It was May 10th, and I actually turned 59, which was a pretty big year for me. And so it was actually the first year that I didn't feel super excited about the number. Usually I'm really happy about my birthday. I ended up having a wonderful birthday, but I was reminded that my dad passed away when he was 59. And so it brought back those memories of my dad and how much I've missed him. I was, I believe, 27 when he passed away, and he had some health issues, and we are two very different people, but it just made me miss my dad a lot. So that was one of the things that happened this month. The other thing that happened that you may or may not be aware of is that on April, I believe it was April 30th, Naomi Judd took her life. And that was super sad to me. I was a huge fan of the Judds back in the 80s and 90s and loved their music. And quite frankly, I had kind of forgotten about their music and not been following them as closely. And I didn't know all their background and all their stories. But when this happened the day before she was going to be inducted into the Country Music Hall of Fame with her daughter, Winona, I was really interested in their relationship as mother-daughter and the things that they've been through and what might have led to that. And she was really open about her struggles with mental health and depression and mental illness. It was not a surprise to, I guess, what I'm trying to say is there were she had struggled with this for a while. She'd written a book called River of Time and just really been honest about her struggles. So her relationship with her daughter Winona reminded me a lot too of my mom and myself, because we used to always love singing harmony together. My mom would sing alto and I would sing soprano, and we would play piano and organ together. Now, my mom was very private. She didn't want to get out and share music publicly like Winona or Naomi. But I remember even watching the Judds on TV and just loving their music. So it brought back those memories. And then just hearing about the relationship that Naomi and her daughter Winona had, a really loving relationship, but somewhat dysfunctional too at times, and just them working through issues. And that just reminded me of the relationship I've had with my mom for years too. And then also hearing about Naomi share about generations of her family, who there was generations of mental illness in her family on both sides, her mom and dad's side. But I just appreciate their authenticity and their openness about sharing who they were. And I think that's something that the Judds always did so well, that drew so many people to them. They were just genuine. And of course, they had amazing music and they were super talented, lovely ladies, but they were really real in the things that they shared and their struggles. And I've tried to do that as well, to be honest and open, but there's been a part of me that's wanted to hold back too. And I recently, just in the last year, created a keynote concert called Take Off Your Mask, and I performed that locally, and it got really positive reviews. And I have a demo reel right now that's almost complete for that keynote concert to share some of my own journey. And I really related to Naomi and Winona and their issues, because my background with my upbringing was a background of depression and also mental illness in my family. And I love my family, and that doesn't define me or define any of my family members. But during the time back in the day in the 70s, there was a huge stigma around mental health issues and mental illness. So things are a lot more open now, and I'm glad that people are talking about it more freely. But it was a very difficult thing. And I know so many people, like friends, acquaintances, just a lot of people whether they're Christian or non-Christian, it really doesn't matter. A lot of people have struggled with mental health issues, with depression or anxiety, things like that. And so I know that there's hope. Sometimes people need to be on medication for those things. Sometimes they just need to work through whatever traumas they've been through. As I said, growing up in a family with a lot of issues like that, I really did a lot of listening and, developed, I guess, the characteristics of compassion and empathy, for family members who struggled with depression, anxiety, and my brother actually who struggled with schizophrenia, and he didn't until he was age 16, but he tried to end his life. Thank God he didn't end his life, but he had a very difficult life. I was 6 years younger. I was 10 years old when he did that, and so it was really hard for me, and so I'm sure that I developed coping mechanisms and unhealthy strategies to deal with some of the pain in my own life and watching my family members suffer with that. And I think when Naomi shared her story through the years and then learning more about her depression and some of the things she had been through, and I was just so sad that she was such a talented, amazing lady, but she ended her life because it was so painful. And her daughter, Ashley Judd, said something on Good Morning America, and I really pretty much got very deep into a lot of what they were sharing because I wanted to understand more of their story. But Ashley said the mental illness lied to her mom and told her lies like she wasn't loved, she wasn't worthy, she wasn't good enough. And what lies those are, it almost seems like a spiritual lie in a way. And yet I can, relate to that. I've struggled with those lies in my own life. It's probably what makes me a good coach, to other people, that have been through a lot of struggles myself. I've been doing a lot of reading lately. But before I tell you just a couple books that I've been reading that have been really helpful to me, wanted to share with you that I was so moved by the things that happened with the Judds that when they had the final tours that they were going to be performing as mother-daughter, and that's amazing. The mom, Naomi, was 76. Her daughter, I think, is 57, 2 years younger than me. But they were gonna do these final tours together, and I'm sure it would have been really healing for them. But Naomi, took her life, the day before the Country Music Hall of Fame, before being inducted into that. But anyway, Wynonna decided to go ahead and do that tour, and I felt moved to go see her in concert, so I was really excited. My husband was so supportive of that, and this was all around my birthday, Mother's Day, all these common themes, going through Mental Health Awareness Month in May. But, yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna go see Wynonna Judd in concert. I've never seen her in my whole life, and her concert, the final tours, she'll be performing in Lexington, Kentucky as the last stop, and of course, the Judds were from Kentucky, so I've got a ticket to see her, and I'm gonna be staying there for 3 nights, and I really can't wait. It's the end of October this fall, but, I'm sure it'll be, healing for her as she grieves the loss of her mom and just shares the memory, but what an amazing talent she has and just her mom had. Just resilient, strong women. I just admire them so much. So some of the books that I've been reading that have been helpful to me in my own journey as I've developed a keynote concert and, step out of my comfort zone to share things that, quite honestly, I wanted to run from. Like after high school, I wanted to run as far away from mental illness as I could because it's not fun, and I didn't wanna be around it. I've been around it a long time in my family, but, God had other plans. Now, of course, when I went away to college at James Madison University, it was in a way, it was just a sense of freedom that I didn't have to think that way. I didn't have to be that way, but I loved my family. And God has a way of bringing things back to us too, issues that he wants us to deal with. And so I've, had to, deal with different issues with, my extended family, whom I love, also immediate family, and even my own issues. But this is a really great book. It's called The Body Keeps the Score. It's Brain, Mind, and Body and the Healing of Trauma. Um, I found this myself on Amazon Prime. I read the whole thing. It's a pretty thick book. I have a lot of earmarked pages in it, but it really talks about the connection between our mind, our body, and our spirit. That's been really good. Another really good book here, it's called Codependent No More. If you or a loved one has had an addiction or mental health issues or whatever, I realized that I had become codependent myself and didn't even realize that. But this is an excellent book by Melody Beatty called Codependent No More: How to Stop Controlling Others and Start Caring for Yourself. It says a codependent person is one who has let another person's behavior affect him or her, and who is obsessed with controlling that person's behavior. And um, it's just natural for somebody who's around somebody who has an addiction or who has an eating disorder, could be alcoholism, mental illness, or anything like that. The person who's really trying to help ends up having their own issues, and they really need to take care of themselves. And by really focusing on themselves, that can be healing and helping others. And then others need to get help for themselves as well. But that's just a little bit about that book. That's really good. I got this book around my birthday. It's called Naomi's Guide to Aging Gratefully, not gracefully, gratefully. And it's filled with wisdom that she wrote. And it made me sad. I haven't finished it. I'm almost done with it. I've got just a little bit more to read, but I've got so many earmarked pages. You can't really, I don't know if you can even tell there, but she has so much wisdom that a lot of how we age is within our own control. Of course, genetics, our genes are something that we're handed down biologically. But she said, I think 70 to 80% of aging is all about the choices that we make. And Naomi had a lot of wisdom, and she shared a lot of really valuable things in here. And I'm really sad that she couldn't hang on with her own life, just with the depression, that she had a depression that was resistant to medication. And I love how her daughters have really said, if anybody needs help, to, suicide prevention hotline, to get help, for anything you're going through. And then I just got this book. I haven't read it yet, but it's called Love Can Build a Bridge. And I love the song that they wrote. So I hope to be learning some of those covers too on piano. As that's my gift, is, singing and playing piano, and just being able to play a lot of different tunes very easily. I know it's a gift from God that I need to get out to more and more folks. But I wanted to come on and just share this authentic message with you. It's May 31st of 2022. Like I said, May is Mental Health Awareness Month. It was my birthday. It was Mother's Day. So there were a lot of things happening. I hope you had a happy Memorial Day weekend. We had a wonderful time. I had friends visiting, a real good friend from Louisiana I hadn't seen in probably about 10 years, and just a time with family. But I'm just very grateful for all those who have fought for our country, for the freedoms that we have here in America. And I'm very grateful for just the sacrifice that many have made for us to have, or the freedoms that we have. Just pray God's blessings on you. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day, and feel free to leave any comments here under this video. We'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.